After having some of you in class for a year or 3 and being Jackson's mom and Chris's aunt, I can hardly believe we're at this point, but here we are. I have some important things I want to tell you about dreams and goals. Don't let anyone convince you that your dreams and goals are unachievable or impossible. Only you can determine that. After all, the impossible is what nobody can do until somebody does it. I recall seeing that painted on the wall of the weight room at Camp Randall Stadium in Madison back in 1985 when I started college. It really struck me then, and it stuck with me all these years. Think for a minute about all that's been deemed impossible throughout history. Flight, electricity, telecommunications, nuclear fission, space travel, self-driving cars. Nobody ever thought Helen Keller nor Stephen Hawking would be able to communicate. Nobody thought blind musicians like Ronnie Milsap, Stevie Wonder, or Ray Charles would be able to play instruments they couldn't even see. And nobody thought that a musician with epilepsy like Elton John could play and keep a rhythm. Nobody thought Amy Mullins, a double amputee, would be able to compete in Division I track and field. Nobody thought Wilma Rudolph, who suffered from scarlet fever and polio that left her paralyzed as a child, would go on to be an Olympic champion and hold world records in the 100 and 200-yard dashes. Nobody thought Danica Patrick, a woman, would be able to break into auto racing. And nobody thought Lindsey Vonn would ever walk again after her near-death crashes. But she was able to make racing comebacks that allowed her to win 3 Olympic gold medals and 8 World Cups. Nobody thought differently abled artists could produce masterpieces, but Michelangelo had osteoarthritis and Van Gogh had epilepsy and bipolar disorder. They all accomplished these feats, and they all defied the impossible. Let me share a favorite story about defying the impossible. In the early 1950s, top athletes made it their mission in life to be the first to run a mile under 4 minutes. One problem was that scientists the world over had proven beyond a doubt that it was humanly impossible to do so. Louis Samperini came awfully close to proving those scientists wrong just before he was drafted into World War II, cutting short an impressive Olympic career, but paving the way for others who trailed closely behind. In 1954, Sir Roger Bannister, an Englishman, ran on a cinder track with 2 pacers and posted an official time of 3 minutes, 59.4 seconds. After decades of negative research and naysayers, Bannister did it. But here's the weird thing. After many runners had tried and failed for a lifetime, once Bannister proved it could be done, once the mental barrier had been lifted and the falsehood of science was put to rest, Bannister's record lasted only 46 days. Certainly Bannister's to be commended. He had God-given physical talent and stamina, but he also found in himself drive, heart, perseverance, self-discipline, and resilience and grit to accomplish the impossible. It's that same grit that fueled him as he became one of the world's leading neurosurgeons. But here's the deal. We all need heart, grit, and resilience. Ali Stroker, the first actor in a wheelchair to win a Tony Award, did not give up due to her barriers. And I doubt Nick Cordero, the Broadway star who recently lost his leg in a fight for his life due to coronavirus, will give up either. They're resilient. They have grit. We all need to persevere when things get hard. We all need to strive for our goals and not give up. When we fail, we need to get up and try again. We simply cannot quit. So remember, when things seem out of reach, the impossible is merely what nobody can do until somebody does it. So I ask you, the class of 2020, what's your 4-minute mile, and how do you intend to break those barriers? I really miss you all.
Welcome, friends, family, graduates, and anybody else who might be listening. My name is Derek Olson, and I'm a math teacher at Memorial, and I'm here to give a message. It's kind of my honor to be able to stand here and talk to the class of 2020. 2020, you have faced a lot of obstacles in 4 years. Back freshman year, we had the school evacuation, and we had to leave in the middle of the day with very little information, and everybody made it safely to McPhee. Last year we went through umpteen snow days, and we had to kind of work through all of that. And of course this year we've had numerous challenges that have made your learning interrupted at times. And I want you to know that while all the stuff that you've learned in all of your classes throughout the 4 years at Memorial, all that stuff is important. What's really important is that you take some of the other messages and some of the other lessons that can be gleaned from the experience. I think one of those messages is that it's really important to be able to expect the unexpected. Adaptation is a skill that when you get into real life, you real quickly find out that the plan that you set out doesn't often work just exactly the way that you thought it would work. And so your plan is really only as good as your backup plan, and your backup plan is really only as good as the next backup plan. And whatever happens and whatever gets thrown your way, it's important for you to realize that to be able to adapt is probably more important than anything else you could imagine. And you guys have had plenty of opportunities to learn how to adapt to a lot of different circumstances. And so I hope that that's something that helps you going forward. We've learned how to be resilient, right? We've learned how to press through. We've learned not to quit on ourselves. When things are tough, that's when true character gets revealed. And so it's really important for us to, when faced with an adverse situation, understand that we can be resilient and that resiliency defines us in a lot of ways. I think another thing that we've learned, especially in the last 2 months, is that it's your life. It is your education, and it is your responsibility to yourself, not to your parents, not to your teachers, but to yourself to learn and change and grow. That's why we come to school. That's why we're here. We're here because we want to learn and change and grow. And that doesn't stop when you graduate. What is going to happen to you going forward is all completely and utterly up to you. And I would hope that you would choose to continue for the whole rest of your life to take the opportunity to learn and change and grow. And that all comes down to personal accountability. Teachers aren't going to be there to tell you and remind you that that's what you should be doing. And nobody is really going to care whether you choose to better yourself or not. And so I think it's very important for you to understand that in a world where you get to make all your own choices, you should always be choosing something that is going to help you develop as a person and become a better version of yourself. I think the other thing that we can take from this entire experience is that we need to be humble. We need to understand that the world does not revolve around us. We're all in this together, kind of a thing, and we need to know that there are other people besides ourselves who might need help, and they might need your empathy, and they might need your intelligence, and they might need your problem-solving skills. And it's a beautiful world that we live in. It's not perfect, but it's definitely beautiful. And I think that if we can realize that we get to be a part of that world. Not that the world is there for us, but that we're there for the world. And we get to take all the things that we've learned in Eau Claire Memorial for the last 4 years and use it. We can use it to make the best possible positive impact that we can on the world, because that's why we're here. We're here to use our gifts, right? Use your own strengths. And everybody sitting watching at home right now has those strengths. You all have capabilities and interests and passions, and you're a very unique person. And I think it's very important for us to be able to use the unique person that we are to better all of humanity together. And that's a very humbling experience. You're not doing it always just because it's self-serving. You're doing it because you'll be able to serve others with it. So congratulations to the class of 2020. I'm truly proud of all of you that I've had the pleasure of meeting and had in class, and I hope at this point going forward that you are ready, right? I hope you feel confident that you can go out there and make the world a better place, because we're watching, all right? And we're waiting for you. And we're very excited to see what's going to happen next. So go Abes, come back and say hi whenever you get a chance to, and we care about you, okay? Stay healthy, and we'll see you when we see you.
Imagine
the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you will join us, and the world can live as one.
Greetings to you all, class of 2020. Whether or not you are aware of it, I am retiring at the end of this school year. On Tuesday, March 17th, as I left MHS for an extended period of school closure, I thought, this may be my last day of working in this building that I have called my teaching home for more than 32 years. I suspect a number of you have felt that same separation and loss as you went home to learn a whole new way of being. Over the past weeks, I've made some personal observations. Number one, life doesn't always follow our plan. I mean, you and I had some unfinished business at Memorial, didn't we? Maybe you were planning on some big senior events, maybe senior skip day, a final prom, a spring athletic season, spring concerts, hours of AP and project lead the way tests, some final art projects, a big blast of senioritis. Each of you had your own set of plans, right? I did too. I wanted Mr. Minch to teach me how to make a giant cat tree. I had my cat t-shirts all lined up for my final weeks of school. It was going to be epic. I was going to coerce some of my math and science friends into teaching me how to turn my file cabinet into a paper cannon to help me speed up my final office cleanout. I was looking forward to some retirement parties and other events to help me ease out of Memorial into retirement life. And for many of us, those things were halted, weren't they? At first, this really saddened me. Well, it still does, because having been surrounded by students and staff for the better part of my life, I miss the people at Memorial so much. But changes in plans always happen, and we adapt. The slower pace of my daily life has caused me to pay attention to things I may have taken for granted. For one, this time has drawn me closer to my own children, my oldest in particular. Silas, a 2012 MHS graduate, moved to Florida 2 years ago. After years of struggling with post-secondary education, he enrolled in a community college and was doing quite well. When classes moved to an online format, though, Si really struggled with the change, as many of us have. This led to us connecting with one another every day as we helped one another adjust to our new ways of doing school, because I was struggling too. Together we learned to navigate our workload and got more comfortable with Zoom and team meetings. But more importantly, I have learned so much more about Si's life, his struggles with anxiety, his love for his partner Sasha, the ways they find to connect with their Midwest families, including their participation in a family Passover event via Zoom. Truly, our daily communications with one another has made our bond stronger. Prior to March 17th, I didn't make those opportunities like I should have. But today, those communications are of great importance to me as I have truly come to value who Silas is. I hope you've had the opportunity to pay attention to and strengthen your bonds with others, even from a distance, even when it's challenging. The second change has been connecting with my Taft Avenue neighbors. Usually I see them from my car as I head off to complete errands, a quick smile, a wave, and sometimes a short conversation. Maybe a couple yearly gatherings, but very little more. They're really nice people, and I can say that I like them. But now that my life is spent mostly on Taft Avenue, we connect weekly by email and then see one another during our weekly 6 p.m. Wednesday street visits. Even though we stand 6 feet apart and wear our various masks, I am seeing these longtime neighbors in a different light. They worry about the family members they haven't seen in weeks. We talk about you too. They wonder how your lives will be different beyond this, and they worry about how you are now. They're even plotting ways to celebrate our neighborhood's graduates. They notice the children in the neighborhood too, the newly walking toddlers, the bike riders who've just gotten rid of their training wheels as they race down the street, the children of the medical workers, the online learners, and they look at all of these things with thoughtful eyes. I'm learning the realities of the street where I live. It's a caring, loving place, and I recognize this more than ever, especially since my plans to be in other places have changed. Because my life has slowed down, I've come to take more notice. I hope that you too have come to realize the specialness in what once might have seemed very ordinary to you. Certainly, there have been many simple observations made during these weeks. It's just hair, and that's why we have hats. Pajama pants are more comfortable and don't appear in Microsoft team meetings, so take advantage of every opportunity to wear them. In the morning race to the office chair, the cat always wins. It is possible to get through a lot of leftovers. And lastly, wearing a mask may be uncomfortable, but it is quite manageable. I know that you will have lots of stories to tell about this time for years to come. Remember them and the lessons that you have learned. I celebrate you, class of 2020. I want to thank you ahead of time for the ways that you will enter the world as scientists, service workers, healthcare professionals, skilled laborers, business professionals, educators, and above all, problem solvers. I wish you all my very best. Good luck.
Seniors, You may have heard that you are living in unprecedented times. I know I am certainly tired of that word. I've heard the word unprecedented way too many times. As you prepare to leave Memorial and enter this crazy world, be aware that you will be facing some serious challenges. Like most seniors across the country, you have no idea what the fall will bring. For those going off to colleges, the military, the workforce, it's hard to envision exactly what it's all going to look like. Lots of questions might pop into your head. Like, what will my living arrangements look like? Will I get along with my roommates? Should I even move out of my parents' house? Or maybe, what are classes going to be like? Will it be too hard? Will I be able to get enough help? How will classes even look in the fall? Or, how am I going to stay healthy? Will the right food be available? What if I get sick? It can be scary out there, and it's all right to be nervous. As you take on these challenging times, I only ask that you attack them with positivity and optimism. The point of view is everything. In my 28 years of teaching, I've developed one big pet peeve. Often, I have top-notch students who cannot focus on the positive. Instead of being happy and proud of a 95% on an exam, they obsess about the 5% that are wrong. Life will never be 100%. You need to learn to appreciate the positive and ignore the negative. We all fall into this trap, but we really shouldn't dwell on negative things. And there are negative things in the world right now. It's easy to be depressed about them. Every day you should spend some time thinking about the good things, not just the bad. After all, these are unprecedented times. Or wait, maybe they really aren't unprecedented. Actually, these are the same concerns that every senior before you has dealt with. They also had no idea what classes, jobs, housing, or health would look like. Clearly, COVID-19 puts a different spin on things. But really, it's no different than the seniors of 1943 wondering how World War II would affect their lives, the seniors of 1999 wondering if the world would shut down with the Y2K crisis, or the seniors of the 50s worrying whether nuclear war was coming. Heck, even when I graduated in 1988, people told us that the drug gangs and AIDS were going to kill us all. I lived. Life is always change, and if you attack it with a positive slant, you will always make the most of every situation. Class of 2020, go forward and change the world with a positive look and a problem-solving attitude. The details of the challenges might change from year to year, but I guarantee these are not unprecedented times. Every generation deals with a unique situation, and you're prepared to take on this one. Congratulations.
Thank you.